What's up, everybody? My name is Holly. Welcome to Traumedy Hour. Hey guys, what's cracking? I'm reporting to you here from a heat wave in Seattle. It's hot as fuck in here. I have sweat dripping down my back, but it's fine. Everything's cool. Not literally, not figuratively, so maybe not. I'm hesitant to record this episode because I feel weird about myself right now. That last episode I posted talking about being in a funk after vacation and feeling dysregulated. That feeling is still here. And I'm kind of dealing with that. And I'm dealing with what is really going on. And I feel weird talking about it, but I'm going to do it anyways because I think it's good for me. And I think it's relatable content. I think it's something that other people can relate to. And I also made a commitment when I first launched this podcast that I would show up as my authentic self no matter what that was. And I'm going to do that, you know? I feel a self-imposed pressure to be collected and funny and have like ideas in my head of interesting things to talk about. And I don't have that right now. And I feel like it's important for me to show up even when I'm not 100% my best self, because I don't think it's realistic for us to continue perpetuating the facade of perfection and always having things feel great and be put together. And it's just not realistic. And I think it probably would have helped me early on if I knew how much other people were also struggling. I haven't even officially announced my frequency of release times for these episodes because I haven't found my groove yet, and I don't want to put undue pressure on myself to churn out an inauthentic episode as long as you get it out by Monday. This isn't true crime. I'm not telling other people's stories. I'm telling my own stories and talking about my own struggles, and that to me is a little bit more delicate, and I want it to be genuine. So I'm not going to force myself when I'm in an absolute garbage headspace to come here and talk to people. Right now, I'm in a headspace. I have depression, basically. And my depression shows up in interesting ways that I'm still learning. And I think what happened when I posted that last episode and I was talking about being robbed and being, going on vacation and feeling like I was out of my routine, I think the routine disruption is not the problem. Those are normal things. Everybody's routine gets disrupted on vacation. Like, what the fuck? And not working out, I could have exercised on the beach. I don't know. I listened back to that episode and was like, sounds like a bunch of excuses, Holly. Even right now, I don't even know what to say. It's like, I had therapy today. If you guys want to hear about that, I had therapy last week. I had therapy the week before. I increased my sessions, after I got back from Hawaii and said, I'm feeling weird. I'm feeling kind of low. I'm feeling that sadness coming back. The dark cloud that was over me back in February is coming back, and it's very scary. And I have a hard time addressing my own depression for some reason. I'm still trying to figure out why it's hard for me, and it's just, I just want to pretend it's not happening. But that's not reasonable, and that won't help. So I've been spending the last couple weeks kind of figuring out different ways to feel better. It's about managing the symptoms of a mental illness. It's never going to go away. I've been grappling with that concept. I will always have depression, and I will always have anxiety, and it will show up in varying degrees at varying times in my life. And I need to learn how to manage it, because you can't cure those things, really. it's like a response to all the traumas in my life. I can't do anything about the traumas, but I can manage my responses to them. So I've been exploring some different ways to do that. And that zaps me of all creative energy, of course. It's not like I feel like skippity doo dah day, let's go record a podcast episode about depression. Who doesn't want to hear about that? What's up? Can you guys relate to being so fucking sad? Yeah, what happens to me is it turns into a chicken or the egg thing, because I start to get depressed and then I do behaviors that make me even more depressed, and then I feel depressed that I did those behaviors, and then I'm depressed that I'm depressed, and then I'm also just depressed. So it's just this very vicious cycle that I go into, and I start to like kind of spiral, and that's when I increase my therapy sessions a little bit, when I need a little bit more support to get through those periods. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I have that as an option, and that I can afford therapy, and that I have a great therapist. So I want to acknowledge my gratitude for the things that are good and not wallow only on the things that are difficult. So my gratitude for this moment is thank you for a good therapist and for a job that allows me to pay for therapy. I'm grateful that I have been able to really do some hard emotional work the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or like 30 years. I had a pretty intense therapy session last week that was extremely emotional, and I had some very deep conversation with my therapist and tapped into a couple things I hadn't really thought that hard about before. And something kind of clicked in me where I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to take control of myself and my life, and I'm going to manage myself better. And one of the things that I decided to do was to seriously practice some of the Stoic virtues. Stoicism is a life philosophy, and I have read about it and been kind of lightly researching it for the last 2 years because it's something I'm interested in. And I decided to actually put some of the virtues into practice as an attempt to manage my depression and anxiety. And it actually worked really well. Better than any religious practice ever worked for me. So it really gave me a sense of control, self-control and self-relief, and self-comfort to practice some of these virtues. So I'm not going to try to educate you on Stoicism or the history. You can fucking Google that, bro. I'm not the internet. You can figure it out if you're interested. But I have a brief summary of Stoicism that I have Googled, and I'll share it with you so you can understand what I'm saying right now. And Stoicism is a philosophy of life, and it has 4 major components or virtues or bullet points, really. And the 4 principles or virtues or whatever you want to call them are to love truth and seek wisdom, act with justice, fairness, and kindness towards others, master your fears and be courageous, and master your desires and live with self-discipline. Stoicism is all about living in harmony with nature, with other people, with Mother Nature, with life itself. It's about being balanced and self-controlled and disciplined, but also find joy in the simple things, and to know what you have control over and what you don't have control over. That is a huge part of the Stoic practice. So I've been doing a lot of reading about this and listening to a lot of authors and speakers share about Stoicism, and I did some serious intentional work to put these into practice in my real life. So I'll tell you a little bit about how that went. So one of the main characteristics of Stoicism is that you can live in the real present moment. You're not an escapist, you're not daydreaming, you're living in reality, you're living in the present moment. You're not living in the future, you're not living in the past. You're right here in the present moment, and you're living in it, and you're you're present with it. You're not checked out. And not only that, but you're letting life happen and you're not trying to control it, and you're not manipulating or controlling people or your environment. You're letting life do what it's going to do, and you are only focusing on what you can control, and every single thing that's happening around you is going through this control filter. Is this a me thing, or is this an other person thing? Is this the world, or is this me? Do I have control over this, or is this a world thing like going on in the world? I'm probably not explaining this well because I'm not an educator or a philosopher or an expert of any kind. I'm just trying to delineate the information I've gathered and explain it to a bunch of people who have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Instead of letting the things that are happening around me really ruffle my feathers and get me worked up and frustrated, I've been practicing every day just letting it go and really being mindful and really letting go of things that I don't have control over. I cannot tell you how much better these last 2 weeks have been. As a real-time example, right now, my cat is meowing and there is an airplane flying overhead while I'm recording a podcast. Those two things are completely outside of my control. There is nothing that I can do about that airplane up in the sky. And there's really not anything I can do to make my cat shut the fuck up, because he has vocal cords and a mouth and he's going to open them. And here he comes right now. But that's an example of, I'm not going to get enraged and turn off my recording and stomp out of the room because these fucking things are bugging me. Yeah, it would be great if there wasn't a bunch of external noise while I'm trying to record a podcast for the fucking internet, but I'm doing the best that I can in the moment, and I'm controlling what I can control, which is my words, my voice, what I'm sitting here saying and doing. And those are the little practices I've been doing all week, which is when I got stuck in 2 hours of gridlock traffic. I intentionally challenged myself. Holly, can you sit through 2 hours of Western Washington traffic on I-5 without getting upset? And I'm proud to say that I accomplished it. I did it. And that's coming from a very aggressive driver. My worst personality traits come out in the car. I think that everyone on the road is an idiot, and I'm a better driver than everybody. And I just get frustrated to hell and back driving out here. And it was a real challenge for me to stay patient in traffic. I despise the way people drive here where I live. And I also despise traffic, period. I hate traffic. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of my fucking life. I hate traffic so much. So it was a real intense challenge for me to say, okay, Holly, you're going to intentionally get on I-5 and sit in 2 hours of bumper to bumper traffic in the afternoon and see if you can do it without getting angry. And I didn't even, my heart rate didn't even go up. I managed to stay perfectly zen for 2 hours sitting in bumper to bumper traffic on I-5, which I find to be very impressive because that is one of my main anger triggers. I do not like traffic, and I just hate people who drive like fucking idiots, which is most people. So I am very proud that I accomplished that, because that was a very serious challenge for someone like me. Another thing that happened was I scratched the front bumper on my 4Runner for the first time. So I take pride in my possessions and taking good care of them. I take good care of my apartment. I take good care of my clothes and my shoes and my musical instruments and my vehicle. I like to respect the things that I have worked hard for and paid for with my money, or things that people have given to me from their hard-earned money. I just think there's value in respecting your possessions. So I respect my vehicle and I take good care of it. I keep it clean and vacuumed and washed regularly. I make sure the fluids are always topped off and flushed and cleaned, and I get regular services and I make sure that my vehicle is something I'm proud of and that I'm respecting. And last Monday, or whatever, a week ago, I'm pulling out of my parking spot and I scraped the pillar, which is wooden, but it's lined with metal to protect it from getting fucked up from people like me hitting it. So I was like, oh, that's not that bad. I lightly tapped it. And when I got out to look, I had really scraped a 12-inch length strip. I scratched the bejesus out of the front of the bumper. There was no like actual body damage. It was just scratch and paint. And I think historically that would have enraged me. I would have been livid that this happened. Who put that pillar there? How could they how could they think putting metal on the, I would have projected my anger onto it's someone else's or something else's fault. But in that moment, I thought, oh, well, it is what it is. It happened. Not much I can do about it. I can't control anything. It's my fault that I didn't pay close enough attention to how close I was to the fucking pillar. I've never hit anything in my life, dude. This is the first time I've hit something, really. I was like, okay, I've never bumped this pillar before and I've lived here for 3 years, but that's hard. So I just took it in stride as another opportunity to practice my stoic virtues. And I thought, all right, I'll just go to AutoZone. I'll get some compound and buff it out. And that's exactly what I did. I got a $5 jar of like scratch compound and I just buffed out my bumper. I spent, 45 minutes cleaning the whole thing up. Got all the paint off of it that had scraped on. The scratch is still there, but you can't really tell because it's an all black vehicle. So I don't know. It's an off-road car. I'm not trying to keep it in pristine condition. I'm just trying to respect it. And I did. I took care of that scratch. I didn't get upset at all. I didn't get frustrated at all, which I honestly am impressed. I'm saying it like it's a big deal because it is a big deal. Certain things frustrate me, and a mess of my personal possessions that I have worked hard for is something that really bothers me. So the interesting contrast here is that, I just bought this vehicle in February, like 2 weeks before my mental breakdown. I just bought this vehicle at the very beginning of February, and maybe 2 months ago, I was driving on the highway and a rock flew up and cracked a little tiny star crack in the windshield. Bro, I was through the roof, furious, immediately. What the fuck? I just fucking bought this car. I spent so much money on this. I worked my ass off, and now I have a scratched, like a little starfish, whatever they're called. It's not like a full crack. It was, what are those called when a rock hits your windshield and it's like a little star? And it's in front of my face on the driver's side of the windshield. And I was livid, so pissed. And I remember going to therapy a couple days later, and I was like, hey, out of curiosity, why would this make me so angry? My logical brain knows that it's not that big of a deal. I can get it fixed. Even if the whole windshield cracked, like I can still get that fixed. It's not like the whole fucking car's ruined. But my emotions were not matching my logic. So my emotions were anger that this happened. And I felt irritated at how frustrated and angry I got about a stupid little thing on my windshield. So I talked about it in therapy. I remember I was like, hey, it wasn't like the whole session. Obviously, that would be weird. But I said, this thing happened and I'm curious why my reaction, like, why did I have such an emotional response to that? So we talked about attachment and attaching your perceived value to your possessions. So that kind of helped me work through that. So that, in contrast with my experience hitting the pillar and scratching my bumper, is just funny because I was, even just 2 or 3 months ago, I would have been angry, but I've been working really hard at controlling my emotions and controlling my reactions to life. And I'm not always successful, and there are still things I'm actively working on to be better at, because I feel like there's still certain areas in my life that I feel are a little bit unmanageable and out of my control. And I can acknowledge that and recognize that some things are a little bit unmanageable right now. And I'm working on it. You know, I can only do so much at once. So maybe part of my like emotional funk is just this general exhaustion from life and living. That sounds like something a depressed person would say. That's my depression speaking. It's exhausting to be alive. No, it's like we're still in the middle of a goddamn pandemic, bro. We have been in survival mode for almost 2 years. That's crazy. This is how CPTSD is developed. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder is developed by having prolonged traumatizing experience. And that is exactly what this is. And, you know, we have to like remember that. I have to remember that. We're still dealing with this. And honestly, one thing that I did discuss with my therapist was kind of how my depression got triggered so intensely in 2020. And I said, you know, I think that I just saw everybody's true colors, and it really burst the bubble for me for a lot of people that I have cared about for a long time, family and friends and people that I love. The election and the pandemic at the same time, you know, and there was a lot of social issues happening at the same time that I care very much about. You know, I saw people that I love and care about being very strongly against the things that I care about and am passionate for. I don't know how to express it like politically correctly, but I just had to see a reality about some friends and family members that I didn't want to see, and that really made me sad because I'm just particular about the people that I let be close to me. And if I feel that you are now an unsafe person, it makes me sad that I can't have you close anymore because I don't trust you. I don't trust your judgment. I don't trust your perception of the world. I don't trust your advice. You know, I just, those big bubbles burst for me for a lot of relationships that I had. I had to see really nasty things in the world with the presidential election, with Black Lives Matter, with Me Too, with like the pandemic and the mask mandates. It's just like, I feel like every possible ugliness that you could see in people all bubbled to the surface at the same time. And I had to see ugliness in myself and in other people. And it just is so disappointing and depressing, dude. It's hard to fucking deal with it. It's hard to bounce back from it. And we're still in it, bro. We're still dealing with this. Like, it's been 18 months and people are still fucking around. Like, it's depressing. It's sad. It's sad to see, like, the fear mongering and the lack of real education. And I don't know. My politics are much too complicated to talk about in this episode, but I have all kinds of fucking opinions about the philosophy and the logic and the critical thinking and the cognitive dissonance behind a lot of these like mask mandates and vaccines. And I don't know, dude, I'm fully vaccinated and I wear a mask in public indoor spaces as recommended, and I don't have a little bitch fit about it at every fucking opportunity because I'm not a little bitch. So that's how I feel. I feel like if you can't deal with the way that the world is right now, like get the fuck over yourself and stop being a little bitch. I don't know what else to say. Grow up. You live on planet Earth with all the rest of us, bro. You don't live on planet you where you're in charge and you're the only one and you're the, you know, everything you want is what you should get. It's just like living with a bunch of fucking 2-year-olds, dude. It's gnarly. I find humanity very disappointing and depressing for the most part. Like, there's definitely great people and great things and great experiences, and I just wish that I didn't have to see all this garbage. Like, I wish I could unknow the amount of bullshit I know about people. It's like, oh, okay, you're a racist. Good to know. Oh, you're a sexist, misogynistic pig. Good to know. Like, I just did not know this about a lot of people, and all these things that happened in the last 18 months really brought it to the surface and pushed me over the fucking edge, dude. Not only was I having all of my bubbles burst and all my understanding of the people I love and care about has been shifted and dumped upside down, but I'm also like in isolation by myself. I live a fucking alone, dude. I live alone in a pandemic. Like, nothing has ever challenged my sanity like that. It was crippling. It was too much. It was too much. I honestly wish that I didn't isolate as hard as I did, because it really pushed me over the past, it pushed me beyond my limits, really. I couldn't take it anymore. But I was trying to be good and isolate until we figured out more about the virus, and I was like, I'm not going to be anybody's fucking, you figure it out. You guys go get sick and find out how it works and let me know. I was not trying to be anybody's like guinea pig. So I waited it out and tried to isolate until there was more information. And by then I was depressed and unsettled and not okay. Not only is it like everything I thought I knew about people, all the people around me, I had to see things I wish I didn't have to know. But at the same time, I think we should know each other and we should be real and honest, and we should be more particular about the people that are held close to our heart. But I had to see things and find out things about people that that blindsided me and really deeply disappointed me and angered me. And I was dealing with that on top of being in isolation by myself during a pandemic. It's extremely lonely, It's crazy, dude. If you don't live alone, I want you to just imagine going weeks on end, week after week after week after week, with not a single person touching you. Not a hug, not anyone gently touching your hand or anything, platonic or not. Like, it's fucking torture to be completely isolated. I have always felt like this. Like, I'm very much against solitary confinement for this reason exactly. I think it's worse than anything you can do to someone. The psychological torture of being completely isolated is just brutal. And it was like everything was closed, all the things I would have traditionally done if I couldn't see my family and friends. It's like, I'll just go to the gym, I'll go to a restaurant, I'll go online dating. Like, there's lots of other things you can do to like meet people and hang out and socialize, but those things were all off the table in a pandemic. I ended up choosing to isolate by myself for a really long time, and I isolated over the holidays. I spent Thanksgiving and Christmas by myself, and I was like, no big deal. It's just 1 year. Like, I can handle that. I've had big holidays my whole life. Like, what's 1 fucking year where I just lay low? And it was too much. It pushed me over the edge. And by February, I thought if I bought my dream car, maybe that will make me feel better. And there was other reasons that I got the car. Like, logistically, I needed it. And I was like, well, now's the time. So now today's as good a day as any. It was kind of like, well, now I have my dream car. I have job stability. I have a good income. I have my health. What the fuck am I so depressed about? And it was like, I'm living my life completely alone. There is something very depressing about, nobody knows what I've been doing all day. Nobody knows what I've been eating. Nobody knows how my day's gone. Nobody knows me on an intimate level like that. And it's very, very lonely to have that be your situation and also be locked in your house 24/7 for a very long time. And I feel like I haven't honestly fully recovered yet. I have, again, we're still living in the pandemic. It's not over. So I'm still living between like life before the pandemic and life after, because it's not over yet. And I'm still being careful, and I'm seeing my friends and stuff, but I'm not over it, I guess. Even since I got back from Hawaii and I've gotten back into my routine, things are still feeling the same that they were when I recorded that last episode, where I'm just like, okay, is this it? What else? I don't know. I don't have any answers. I'm still in this place, so it's not like I've solved it. And I made the conscious decision to come here and be vulnerable without having a resolution to my story. So if you're experiencing the same thing that I am right now, which is just kind of this like, another day. It's just like, I don't know. And now the goddamn planet's on fire and no one fucking cares. It's a complete smoke cloud outside my apartment, and it's becoming the norm every summer now that climate change is happening. This planet is running out of resources, and y'all don't fucking care. I saw a tweet that said, "Oh, if you're concerned about your CO2 levels with a mask on, just wait till you hear about climate change." It's like, yeah, whether you believe it or not, we're running out. We're running out of resources. You don't have to think it's true. It's true. You don't have to think the sky is blue with a sun in it, but it is. It is what it is. And you can either get on board with reality right now, or you can let reality crush your fucking skull, which it will. It will crush you. Reality is going to show up whether you want it to or not, and you don't have to believe in reality for it to be real. So it's happening whether you want it to or not. The virus is spreading, the virus is killing people, climate change is real, and we're seeing the effects of it in front of us every fucking day in the weather and how the planet is behaving. She was here first, and we should take care of her. But that's just me. I digress. Yeah, that's like part of what contributes to my depression too, is that I feel so strongly about so many things. I feel strongly about them, and then I get completely paralyzed with overanalysis and fear, and like, well, what can I even do about it, I even thought about the climate crisis when I bought my SUV, because SUVs are bad for the environment, right? I weighed my fucking carbon footprint and took that into consideration before buying this vehicle. And I'm like, it's not going to make a difference if I don't buy it, because the damage is being done at such a great scale. It doesn't even matter. Anyways, these are the things that get me spiraling, dude. Climate change, child abuse, like mental illness, homelessness. Like, these things are overwhelming for me. And then it just turns into this, like, what's even good anymore? So before I, like, try to end this episode on a sad fucking note, let me like really do a meditative practice right now. I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to think about things that are going really well that I'm grateful for, and I'm going to ground myself in those things. And I'm not going to slide into a fucking rabbit hole of really complicated, impossible issues that I can't control or solve. Okay, I'm really grateful that I had a good day today. I went to therapy today. I had a really good session, and then I went to the park and I rode my bike on a mountain biking trail, and then I went to the gym and I did a shoulder workout for shoulder day, and that gave me endorphins and empowerment and strength. And I'm really grateful for that day that I had today. And I'm grateful for my physical health, that I was able to do those things. And the freedom and the ability, not everybody has the opportunity to do what I did today. And I'm grateful for my life and for the things that I get to do with it. And I'm grateful that I can sit here in the comfort of my apartment and talk to you guys and be real. I'm grateful for my voice, for my brain, for the way that I can process and share. I'm really grateful for that. not everybody can do this. And it's possible that I won't be able to do this for my whole life. So I'm grateful for it in this moment. And I'm really grateful for the fresh banana bread that I made this morning because my bananas were going bad. I made gluten and dairy-free banana bread that was really good, and I took some pieces that were still warm and I wrapped them in tinfoil and I took them to my therapist and I gave him fresh banana bread this morning. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I was able to do that kind gesture and share some delicious home-baked snacks with my therapist, who I very much care about and cherish and love. I'm grateful for my dog, who I love so much. He's sleeping over here next to me, and my cat, and my cozy apartment that I love, and all the things that I have that I respect and take care of. I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you for listening to this podcast and watching it on YouTube and being a part of it, and for sharing your stories and your feedback with me. Every single episode, I get text messages or DMs, and that means so much to me. So please don't be afraid. If you listen and you want to reach out, sometimes I'm busy and I don't reply like super fast or in depth, but I very much value the messages that I get after you guys are listening to these episodes. It means a lot. It means a lot to me that my stories and my thoughts matter, We all matter, and all of our lives really do make a difference. So don't forget that. I hope that you're doing okay and that you have people to talk to and lean on. And if you need some support, you let me know. I hope you have a good rest of your day, or whatever you're doing right now. I hope it goes well. I hope you take a deep breath. I hope you take a drink of water. I hope you take your meds. And I hope that you have compassion on yourself and love yourself. And I will be doing the same. I'm going to go take my meds and drink my water and have some compassion on myself. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to reach out with your comments, thoughts, suggestions, feedback. I can take it. All right? I love to hear from you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day or the rest of your week, and I'll catch you next time.